Welcome to another episode of the Veriswap podcast. Today we have Alex Radushinsky, otherwise known as Empty Envelopes NYC on Instagram on today. How's it going, Alex?
Hey, what's up, Ray? How's it going? Thank you for having me.
It hasn't been a long time since I last saw you at the National on Friday. How has the show been for you?
I actually ended up leaving Friday. This is actually my first National in about 7.5 years of being in the hobby. It was definitely a mind-blowing experience. A little overwhelming at first. You know, the only show I've ever been to prior to this was the White Plane show, which is the size of the bathroom of the National. Just lots of people. But my biggest takeaway is finally seeing the faces of all these, random names and hashtags of people that I've been speaking to and talking to and doing, six-figure deals with over the years.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like you talk with people like over the internet, you kind of like associate the Facebook, you even know their Facebook profile picture, like what color it is, who is in it, but you don't really know what their exact Facebook looks. You never like click on their profile and like scroll through their photos. It's only when if they're like, oh, I'm LeBron James collector 123, and that they're like, oh, that's you.
I'm actually gonna have to share some content with you a little bit later. I actually did a little surprise. So you know how you had those practice safe swap Veriswap condoms?
Yes.
I actually took a handful from your table, and I was walking around. Like I would pinpoint people that I knew, but I could tell by glancing at them they didn't recognize me. So I'd walk over to them, hand the condom into their hand, and whisper in their ear my room number. I would freak them the hell out. So I actually had a buddy record some of these interactions just for entertainment purposes, and you will definitely appreciate them. They would freak out. I had one guy saying, no, I'm married.
Appreciate you spreading the word about Veriswap. It's all about practicing safe swaps and safe trades. It's always funny to kind of see people's reactions. Kind of explains why you left early on Friday. You must have had a very tiring Thursday night. So how is what was your approach to National? Like, what did you plan like going in?
So I actually, my first day I came in with these high hopes where I had a whole bunch of like high-end, high sub Beckett slabs. And my approach was basically I was going to try to get rid of as much Beckett stuff into PSA holders. So I picked out, the best of the best. Got there bright and early, before the show even opened, skipped the whole PSA line, submitted all this stuff, only to get, you can see the meme and card porn have turned me into a meme over the last 24 hours with my results.
Yeah, the clip of the person putting down all the card savers with like the dollar signs popping up.
Yeah,
that's Alex.
Unfortunately, that was me. I'm actually hosting a GoFundMe page, so for every like and follow, I'm getting $1 donated. Not sure from who yet, but I'm wishful thinking. That's the same wishful thinking I came into the National with.
That's my friend and I were talking about like two pages that you don't want to be on. Right. The first page is Golden's Instagram page, because that means you overpaid for something. When they say all-time high of 98,000 on a certain card, if you bought that card, you messed up.
Yeah.
So you really don't want to end up there. The second place where you don't want to end up is Levine or like card foreign's page when they when they show like a bad thing that happened to you. So in this case, a few $1,000s down the drain.
Absolutely.
But I remember you like sending me like photos of like 100 cards in your collection. They were all like medium to very high end cards, picking what to try to cross. And I circled way more than what you ended up submitting.
Yeah,
so I'm glad that you didn't follow my
at $400 a pop. There's only so much, I would have loved to submit it for everything if you were paying for it.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe the move is just send stuff through the mail and pay $150 a pop.
Maybe. That was just the first bad beat of the day. We actually that evening we went out to dinner, and
I think people would want to hear your story and watch the video.
I'll share the video. Fortunately or unfortunately, they recorded this happening. So it was a group of 10 of us, going out for dinner. And when the bill comes and some of the guys at the table said, let's do credit card roulette for the bill. And I was the first one that said, hell no, I don't like these odds. I don't want to do this. I'm ready, I already, got beat up earlier today. I don't want to do this. Everyone's like, YOLO, YOLO, YOLO. Guess who treated everyone to dinner that night?
The video was hilarious. I watched it like 3 times. Yeah.
It was just I don't know where my face is more disappointed, seeing those card savers or seeing my credit card get pulled out of that.
That's a crazy thing, right? Like we spend 1.5K. You spent 1.5K on like a dinner for 10. That hurts a lot. But you kind of like don't really think about, or you think about less, spending 5 to 6K on PSA crossovers. So it's crazy kind of how the card world is now. Yeah. Like when I buy a card.
Honestly, watching that video and seeing just those $400 figures just pop up, I was like, this is a day's salary. This is a day's salary. This is a day's salary. Like it almost like in hindsight, it's just insane.
Do you think people ever get more realistic about like these dollar figures in the hobby? Like they'll start thinking about like, oh, like, if I send a card into PSA and pay $150, that's, 10 in and out meals, right? Do you think, what do you think would need to happen for people to start thinking like that?
Nothing. The people in this hobby just are crazy. Where first of all, it's a gamble, and people, just human nature is gambling. If you're a gambler, you're gonna gamble. That's the bottom line, unfortunately. It's hard to stop gambling when the risk reward is technically so high. You're risking $400 to possibly gain 10, 20, sometimes $100,000. Like it's hard to tell yourself I'm not gonna try it.
Right. Yeah. That makes sense. But for a case like that, like I feel like the upside is like much higher, right? Like if you stand to gain $20,000 for a crossover, you'd only need to be successful about 1 in 50 times.
Yeah.
Right. In order to break even.
Yeah. Well,
so I feel like the odds are pretty good. But then you get upcharged.
So what you're saying is I didn't submit enough cards.
You didn't submit enough cards, man. Gotta keep on going. You were just yeah. You know what they say? It's like your one failure is just moves you one step closer to the next success. So you were this close. You just gotta keep on trying.
There's another expression actually. They always congratulate a pregnant woman, on the new baby, but no one ever no one realizes how many times they got fucked trying to get there.
It's a long process.
Yeah.
long process. So yeah, so it seems like you tried some crossovers, they didn't work out. How did you approach the rest of the show?
The next day, honestly, I was kind of bummed. And then on top of that, the next day was still Thursday, so still early. I'd walk around the show and I'd approach the tables that. Well, first of all, I kind of looked at the tables, and a lot of tables had their cards priced. So if I looked at a price and I saw like a LeBron James, Min Gem Topps Chrome listed at $5,000, right away I would just walk past the table because I wouldn't even want to begin dealing with someone who's double on comps. So I'd scour the room for people who are initially priced fairly, and kind of go from them, because at least from there you feel like you have a chance to come to some kind of agreement.
Yep. Sorry, continue, Alex.
So then so by Thursday I'd reach out to the people that were priced fairly, but no one was really interested in trading. They're like, it's still early. We want to focus on selling. So my advice is for the people interested in trading, you probably want to, look into stuff closer to, Saturday and Sunday, where dealers already realize what they weren't able to sell, and now we'll just consider, just shifting inventories. Because Wednesday and Thursday, nobody was interested in, any kind of trades. Everyone was just either buying, at 70% comps, or we're trying to sell to at, full comps or above comps.
That's interesting that people would want to sell for full cash on earlier days of the show. Why do you think that is? Because like from my perspective, it seems like you can always just sell cards for cash, like even before you get to the show. So like it seems like there's almost no point in doing that.
There's a lot more people that you meet and see. There's like just a bigger audience there.
Bigger than eBay, or like bigger than like my
some
slabs?
people are scared to buy on eBay something, you know, big. They don't want to get scammed sometimes, you know.
I see. Okay.
But as a dealer, I kind of get it. You know, if you can sell anything at anywhere near full ask, and you know you play your dealer card, and you're buying from, you know, people coming to the table at 70%, right away you're making a good amount of money. Like I spoke to a couple dealers who easily made, you know, 50K in profits just by taking that approach, finding people to buy whatever sticker they have, and you know, and replenishing at 70% comps.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy to me. Yeah, I mean your point about kind of the security aspect definitely makes sense. Like people, they want to buy cards with full cash in person rather than like risking sending stuff through the mail. Okay, so yeah, I think to your point on judging someone's pricing based on like one card or like one liquid card, I definitely follow that as well. I kind of take that a step further. Like I'm like, okay, like I look at the card, whether it's fairly priced, then I look at the person behind the table. I'm like, okay, this means that this person is probably fairly priced or unfairly priced, and then it determines whether or not I want to deal with them at other shows or maybe like, you know, on Facebook, right? Like I feel like I try not to be too quick to judge, but I feel like sometimes it makes sense to, you know, trying to basically be like, okay, who's easy to deal with and who's not easy to deal with based on their pricing, and then rule out the people who you feel like aren't going to come into agreement. I also think approach is like really, really important, right? Like if you go into the deal with mindset that like you probably won't work something out, then that kind of affects the energy you give off, and in turn, you know, it affects whether or not you're able to come to a deal.
Fair enough. Yeah, some of the booths, like there's a couple of people that I know who have monster cards, but over the years I was never able to achieve any Facebook deals. So I was just like, I don't even want to go down this rabbit hole of, you know, disappointment.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't want them to like dangle it so close to your face, and then you're like, oh, just kidding. We're actually very far on price. I also find negotiating in person like pretty tiring. Like for me, like if I talk to too many people in one day, I get tired. So you know, I try to calculate whether or not something is worth my energy before dedicating time energy to it.
Fair enough. It's also sometimes it's easier to negotiate in person, where like you literally just slide the slabs on their thing and be like, are you taking these or not? And there's this actually one guy that we've spent 7 years now. His name is Preston Ritchie. We spent 7 years trying to do a trade, and we have not once. I'm lying. One time about 2 years ago, we came very, very close to closing a deal, and just we were never able to come to an agreement. Finally, you know, 30 minutes before I was leaving on Friday, like we were very, very close. He wanted 5,000 more. I wanted 5,000 more from his side. At some point, I just took out all the 4 slabs from my briefcase. I put them down. I said, either you're putting them back in my briefcase or you're putting them into your showcase. He said, I hate you. We have a deal. And
I don't know who I heard this from, but like the best deals are the ones where neither party is happy.
Yeah.
Because that's when it's probably the most fair, right?
Yeah.
When neither party has anything to gain, but people do the trade anyways, right?
Yeah. The other thing that people, you know, appreciate in person, when you take out a wad of cash, that really, really, you know, helps close deals. It's one thing when you say I'll give you 7,000. It's another thing when, you know, you take out, you know, a big stack of money. Like,
yeah.
Sometimes a deal online where you say, you know what, like it's almost like some deals online are just kind of poker chips. You don't feel the effect we've become so like desensitized to like the value of money. Where again, I'm telling you, at the show, I submit 400, 400, 400, 400. Like if you talk, you say that you like, I told my wife this morning, she's like, you spent how much? Because that's like just like to someone outside of the hobby, some of these just figures are just, just mind blowing.
Yeah, that was your mistake. Telling your wife how much you spent. Now you're in trouble.
Big time. Now we have to book a vacation to make up for it.
Yep. See you in Jamaica. Okay. Tell us about the trade you made.
So this is actually, I still have mixed feelings about it. So let me just show you the card that I got.
By the way, for those while he's picking up his cards, curious to hear what you guys think about this trade in the comments of the video.
So the card that I picked up is, let me tell me if you can see it clearly.
Yeah. Pull it back a little bit. You can see the full card. It's a 2000 Brady SP Authentic, number to 1,250 in the PSA 10. What's the pop on that?
So the pop on it is 98. And it's actually stayed 98. I picked up my first copy of this card back in 2019. And the card was pop 98 then, and it hasn't changed. So that's kind of like, when you really know a card and like keep track of it, it's easier to kind of like, believe in something where, most other cards pops have grown. And this is a card where the value on it is so high where I feel like enough people tried crossing or, submitting, other copies where something would have happened by now. What I ended up giving up for this card was I gave up a Contenders, so Brady PSA 7 with the 10 auto Contenders. That's actually the card that I missed the most out of the deal. I gave LeBron Topps Chrome Refractor in a 9.5. I gave up a Mahomes Red Zone in a BGS 9.10, the rookie auto. And I also gave up a LeBron rookie SP signatures, 9.5 with the 10 auto. So my take on it was, I upgraded, from one PSA slab into a bigger one, and I got rid of some Beckett slabs. I'm all of the moves Beckett's been doing lately just, seem frustrating. Like, from buying BHS grading companies to, unveiling a slab that got, just horrible reviews to saying, hey, we're just kidding. It's just the moves they're doing. I'm surprised you're not investing into, a microwave toaster grading company. So,
yeah. So, I have my opinions on the trade. But curious to hear what you guys think. Who do you think won? Who do you think lost on that trade? There was no cash involved, right, Alex?
It was just I slid them on the display. I said, yeah, they're going back into my briefcase or into your display.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a play where it's like you upgrade to a much bigger card. Like that's one of Brady's most desirable rookies.
The way I see it,
10 grade.
The way I see it, he kind of hedged his bet because if Brady goes up, the Contenders is going up also. But also LeBron and the Mahomes are down so hard where they have room to rebound also.
I think it's also a comps game, right? Like the cards that you had comp way more often just due to the fact that they're lower priced and there's 5 slabs instead of 1 slabs. Whereas like the Tom Brady card probably does not sell that often. There's only 98 copies in the world.
Yeah.
And they probably are dealt with through private sales. But yeah, curious to hear what you guys think. Also, okay, let's talk about BGS. What do you think about the new slabs or the new slabs?
Or they might not, I don't know. I didn't see anything in person, just those giant pictures, but they look like they took a step back. Like I don't like the new logo. New logo looks just, like we're changing a logo for the sake of changing a logo.
Alex, what do you think the move is for that? Like, what image are they trying to portray?
I think they don't know what they're doing. I genuinely think they don't know what they're doing. I think they dropped the ball, when the pandemic started, and they're just, throwing as many darts and hoping clearly that something sticks. Clearly, this, slab design change didn't stick, and it's very unprofessional. I feel like they could have, spent $1,000 to do a mail, monkey survey, to
Yeah,
ask,
Survey Monkey.
A couple of collectors what they think, would have got, the results that, that they got at the national, and, chop the entire idea.
Yeah, the feedback on that was I feel like you would have been able to find it in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
The second someone posted on Facebook, I didn't see a single person say like, "Oh, I really like that slab," or like, "Oh, I really like the futuristic design."
Yeah.
I think personally, like my angle is that they're trying to, you know, be similar to PSA, where they want to play more of a tech angle. So like you can kind of see that when they kind of acquired a lot of tech companies in the space, like Knox and an AI grading company. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think with the futuristic design of slabs, that's kind of at least what I think.
I'll tell you one thing. These two companies that you just mentioned that they acquired, I had no idea about this, nor did I even know who they were before. At least when you hear about, PSA, acquiring companies, who the company was prior to this, and that there were, somewhat of an asset to the community. For example, people were using card ladder. People knew who card ladder was before they got acquired. People were using Golden, knew who Golden was before they got acquired, versus I don't even know who or what Knox is or whatever this AI company is. So it's kind of like, they're making moves that have no relevance, and I don't know.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that, I mean, personally, like I hope that BGS does well, because I think competition is really good for the industry. Forces all these grading companies to make better products. But I also agree at the end of the day, you kind of need to think about what you're buying, right?
I think SGC is on the trajectory to overpass Beckett. Just the fact that they're already slabbing double to triple what they're doing, weekly, goes to show from where they came just 2 years ago, where they were, 1/10 of what Beckett was doing. To be doubling, tripling them, you're talking about 20, 30x growth.
Exactly. Yeah. I haven't been following their numbers, but from like what people have been saying, that sounds about right. I also want to point out, like, I stopped by the SGC booth to say hi to my SGC rep on Saturday, and with my Veriswap team, I was basically showing them around the show floor. It was their first sports card show. Their team is very professional, and you can tell immediately within 30 seconds of talking to them that they really care about the quality of their product and what their customers think. So here's an example. Like, I walked up to the booth, said hi to my rep, Brian. He walks up and he's like,
Brian is the man.
Brian is the man.
Also,
yeah, he's been my rep for like the past year. I don't really submit through SGC like too much anymore, but he's just a great guy to talk to. Super helpful, and he really cares. Comes up to me and my friends with an RCR holder, because SGC is now doing raw card reviews. It's like, don't hurt my feelings. I just want your honest opinion about what you think about these SGC RCR holders. I mean, that we're launching. We feel like there's consumer demand, but we want to make sure that before we roll out the product, that people actually like it, right? And then 10 seconds later, he calls over Peter Steinberg, the president of SGC. And he's like, hey, come listen to this feedback. Peter walks over with another RCR holder, and he's like, oh, Raymond, come take a look at this slab where we actually really care about what you guys think, right? What other company does that? Where you have one of the top reps of the company, as well as the president, on the show floor, talking to customers, getting feedback, and using that feedback to improve the product.
Oh, they're
Right.
amazing. Not for nothing. Those RCR holders, they look nice. And like what I liked about them is, if you gave them something like in a one touch, they secure the one touch with the seal, and you can decide what you want to do instead of just getting it back in a top loader.
Exactly. Yeah. They like they remove the mini sticker, obviously, to grade the card, and then they replace it with the SGC RCR sticker. Yeah, I think like two things. One thing that I told them that I think would be helpful is like a QR code, that would basically like that you could scan, kind of link to the SGC website.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. But other than that, like it looked very good in hand. Yeah, not to beat the dead horse on Beckett, but I think they felt better than the BGS ones.
Mm-hmm.
They had like, instead of putting thick cards in regular card savers, they have specially designed card savers to hold larger cards.
Yeah.
There's also a discount if you slab RCR cards to a proper card holder, which I'm kind of surprised that is not a thing for BGS. Like it seems like it'd be logical, right? Like you're skipping a step of the grading process.
It should be, but that would require that Beckett has logic, and they've shown very, very effectively that they're not very logical lately, or for the past couple of years.
Yeah. But hey, but maybe the ugly slabs was just a marketing move to get people to pay attention to their company. Maybe they're playing. Maybe we're playing chess and they're playing checkers.
I'm not even gonna dignify that with a response. Way too much credit.
It is August 2nd at 10:41 a.m. We're gonna check on this in 2 months, and we're gonna see if this was an intentional marketing move.
Okay, I'll mark it on my calendar.
Who were you able to meet in person at the show that you hadn't met before in real life after talking for 7 years in the hobby?
So again, outside of you coming to New York once in a while, I have not met anyone else. Like the only people that I've physically met in the hobby was you and Sharon from Black Jaded Wolf, and I met Nat when I dropped off a card by him. Other than that, I had not met anybody else. So it was fun to just run into just about everyone from Lane from Layton. I've seen before at the White Plains show when I went a couple of years ago.
Oh, really?
But just about everyone from the Michael Carters to the Ricky Libby's to Lamim James, the motherfucking king Lamim James.
Actually didn't know it was him until
he was he was a lot smaller in person than I imagined. I'm like, for the meme content you put up, I would expect you to be a much bigger guy.
That's funny. Yeah, like I saw someone wearing like a Protein, like I shill my own Protein auction. I thought that shirt was funny. It was like I shill my own Protein auctions shirt. I didn't know who he was until you pointed to me after at the collectible event, which I thought. What did you think about the collectible event?
Of all things that Beckett sucks at, that was actually a very, very nice event and very nice of them. They had an open bar and relatively top shelf liquor. Could have maybe added some burgers instead of just hot dogs. You had a whole bunch of dudes, turning to the side and eating them in secret. Whenever I saw anyone eating a hot dog, I came up to them with the Veriswap condom.
It's supposed to go on the hot dog.
Yeah. But that event was nice. They had Chris Mullen over there. They had Lawrence Taylor was in attendance. It was kind of cool. And this wasn't all protected. It's just very, very nice.
Yeah, I had a great time. I think it was a lot better than I had expected. And it's cool to just meet a bunch of people. I think it was like really interesting to kind of see like what different brands were like offering in terms of marketing. Like I think Luke Tiger, LeBron's podcast, they were offering they were giving out cigar boxes. I thought it was pretty cool. I don't smoke cigars. I don't know how to smoke a cigar.
Oh, I didn't notice that. I thought they were just selling cigars, and I'm like,
no, they're giving out branded cigars, yeah, in like these like custom wooden cases.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, very very unique. What do you think about the location of the show, Alex?
Okay, I'm from New York, so I've been going to AC for the last 20 years. Like to me, AC is kind of like a shithole of a city, but I think my experience now having to travel, to the convention center for the first time, I got to really see outside of like near the big hotels, and it is horrific. So at least the first 2 days of the show, like, I'd park at the hotel, and I'd take an Uber and or a taxi right to the doors of the convention center. On Friday, though, I was checking out of the hotel anyway, and the convention center is, a couple minutes closer to my house. So I said, you know what, I'm going to check out. I'm going to drive to the convention center, park at the convention center, pay my $25 for parking, which is a ripoff, and, whatever. And then when I'm done with the show, I'll just hop right onto the expressway and go home. I decided to sleep in by 30 minutes that Friday. So instead of, getting to the show for 9 o'clock, I got there like 9:45. Every single parking lot within like an 8-block radius was completely at capacity and not taking anyone. I ended up parking, on the street somewhere on Atlantic Avenue and like Martin Luther King Boulevard. I come out of the car, the first thing I see is an encampment of like 10 homeless people sitting on cardboard boxes, drinking beers, and, play wrestling. I quickly get back into my car, take my watch off, I take my chain off, I tuck it into my pocket, and get back out of the car. I get on the phone with a buddy of mine. I'm like, dude, we're just gonna speak, and if you don't hear my voice for 10 seconds, call the cops. Meanwhile, I'm walking with like, a $3 million suitcase, just praying that nothing happens. Every 10 paces that I step, we see someone just, at 10 o'clock in the morning in broad daylight, just, doing that, promethazine lean where they're like just itching and tweaking, and it was not a pretty sight.
Yeah.
When I was done with the show, because it was already about 4 o'clock, and I just said, you know what, I'm not risking walking 6 blocks. I took a taxi to bring me to my car.
Yeah, it's I remember the first night, like I walked from I don't know what it was, but it was like one of the casinos. Like I walked like 20 minutes down the boardwalk at like 2 a.m. and I smelled the weirdest things. And yeah, like people were just like hanging around on the boardwalk. They were clearly on something. And it was kind of it was a little bit scary. It was, a lot of sketchy things happening.
Did you use the Veriswap condom?
Yeah, just, Robbie, you can just have the condoms. Yeah. So
there's a rumor that somebody got a Brady championship ticket stolen at the show. Do you know anything about it?
I heard about it too. I heard about it from a friend that when he had walked out of the show, he had literally gotten mugged. I two responses to this. My first response was, it must have been someone who was like very familiar with cards, right? To steal something like that, like you kind of have to know cards. Not only know cards, but know cards pretty well to realize like that card is around $1 million, right? And the second thing is like, how do you sell something like that? Like, I know cards very well, and I know for a fact that like there would be no way to sell that thing without getting caught.
Yeah.
So it seems kind of pointless to steal it. But yeah, curious, Alex. Like, if you're the thief, like how do you steal something like? How do you sell something like this?
Go to a different country and you sell it out of China, where they won't release your identity. I'm not even sure.
But the thing is, like, I feel like a lot of people, they buy these cards to show them off, right? To flex.
Yeah.
So if you can't show it off, like,
the
what's
only
the
thing
point?
that I can think of, so maybe if you don't use like a heritage or a golden, but like use one of those smaller auction houses, maybe like, a pristine auction house where not everyone looks at it, or, memory lane auction house, just one of those smaller ones. You won't get the $1 million, results, but profit is profit. That's the only thing I can think of.
I feel like you would almost want to not use that though, because like an item like that would be like the centerpiece of their auction, right? And they would blast it on their email list, basically showing like, oh, we have this card that just popped up out of nowhere. Please bid on it, right?
The only other option is, you keep it for the, you let your grandkids sell it in 50 years from now.
Yeah, maybe this guy's just looking out for his future generation. He's taking the sacrifice and just holding it. But that's crazy.
Clearly he's a very, he's clearly a very thought out, What about you? You do any good deals at the National?
Actually, I just thought of a new idea. How cool would it be if PSA did put air tags on really, really expensive cards?
I thought about that. The problem is, how do you charge them? You have to kind of charge them, right?
I think air tags last for a few years, but I feel like they should offer some sort of free service where they'll reslab it and replace the air tag. Like that would be a good value proposition for them.
No one offers free services. I guess.
Oh, by the way, I want to bring this up before I forget. I went to the Panini party on Friday night, and there was this grading company there called TAG.
TGA or TAG?
I think it's called TAG. But they had some interesting propositions for grading. So they grade on a scale of 1 to 1,000, and each card is assigned a numerical grade. The founder, I believe his name was Michael, showed us a picture of the scanner they used. It looked like it was custom built for them. It looked very legit. It scanned the front and the back surface of the card. And it showed literally every single imperfection on the card, from specks of dust to corner issues. The most interesting thing to me was it showed. He told me that your grade depends on where the defect is. So the example was a Mike Trout card. A ding on the face docks your score by much more than a ding, say for example, on the background.
Interesting.
And a ding, I believe, on the back of the card penalizes you less than a ding on the front side of the card. I'm not sure if people to be honest, I'm not sure if people will really value these things. I think people just, they just look at the number on top of the slab. They're like, okay.
That's what other companies have learned already, even from just SGC or CGS, whatever, changing their grading standards. They realize that people care about having the number 10.
People care about having the number 10. They don't really care about how they arrive at 10.
Correct. So all those things, it's all fun and games, but you don't want to start comparing a 9,017 to a 9,032.
That is true. I think maybe there might be a super niche market for it, right? I'm not sure what that niche market would be, but I think psychologically, people care about a
lot of cards are psychological,
Psychological, yeah. You see PSA 10s that are very off center or have clear defects, but people still buy them because they're PSA 10s, right?
Yeah.
At this point,
which I'm at a phase in my life where now I don't do that. I look at the actual card, not just the grade. But most people, don't do that, and that's why we'll buy stupid stuff.
Yeah, I agree. I am guilty of that. Especially for modern cards. Actually, for ultra modern cards, I feel I don't really care. A 10 is a 10.
You're guilty of buying ugly autos.
I'm guilty of buying ugly autos. Yeah. I like buying cards that have subjective pricing, and I think ugly autos, honestly, I think are undervalued. I think especially as bold autos that are bold in 2022
I disagree.
Fade over time. There might be more popularity for ugly autos. I mean,
I completely disagree. And we've disagreed on this from day one. You know, I can't knock you too hard because, you know, you've been successful with them. I can't own something, look at it, and not enjoy it.
It took me a while to actually realize that black autos are actually faded blue autos.
I mean, there's a couple.
Is that true? Is that true all the time? Do they always sign with blue ink?
Not always. Like Mahomes has a couple of autos where he signs with the black. No, Mahomes has stuff with a blue ink. Mahomes has stuff with the black ink. But most old upper deck stuff is blue ink.
Is blue ink, right? How do you tell like a true black auto versus like a faded blue auto that is now black?
Well, you see if 90 of these other cards are blue and you happen to have a black one, you know, it's one that turned, yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. But if there's no comparison, then they're all just black autos.
They're all black then. Okay.
They're all black. Cool. Awesome. Well, we are running close to time, Alex, but thank you for your time today on the Veriswap podcast. Certainly awesome hearing about stories at the National. Where can our listeners find you?
I'm on Facebook, you know, trolling people usually as Alex Radushinsky, and on Instagram, lately I'm the one being trolled by, you know, Lamim and Cardboard, and I'm empty envelopes cards. He's
the one getting trolled. And what cards do you collect? Just so our listeners know, in case they find something interesting, they can reach out to you.
98% of my stuff is, 98% of my collection is Jordan, LeBron, Brady, and Mahomes.
Jordan, LeBron, Brady, and Mahomes. Yeah,
I
can certainly agree. More like higher end blue chip cards of those four players.
Absolutely.
Great. I'll see you soon, Alex.
Raymond, thank you for having me. And make sure you swap safely.
Swap safely, guys. Be safe.
Bye.
Bye.